Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Leanne and I love to share budget-friendly DIYs with you here on this channel. In today's video, I have some quick and easy Dollar Tree DIYs. These are little guys that could be perfect for a tier tray or just some shelf fillers. And I'm trying to craft my stash, so I went through what I had and came up with a couple of fun things. I hope you enjoy them. Let's get started. All right, so for this first one, I've got some styrofoam balls from the Dollar Tree. They come in multi-packs in different sizes, and a wooden dowel rod. Now, you're going to pick whatever size you have or that works for you for the whole piece. Oh my gosh, that did not make sense. Trying to make it proportionate. So you can use a larger one or a smaller one, a larger dowel rod, whatever you want to do. And we're going to paint the styrofoam ball and the stick in this Kelly green paint. This is just so that we kind of have a good base that won't stand out too much. So I hope that all made sense. I think it'll make more sense as you see we go on. We're making a topiary. Maybe that helps. So now we're going to go in with this clay pot, this terracotta pot from the Dollar Tree. So this is what I was saying. If you're using a larger pot, you might want a larger styrofoam ball, etc. So I'm putting a good coat of white paint on this. Now I originally thought of doing like a dry brush of the white on here so that the terracotta would really stand out. But this clay pot just soaks up the paint, so there's like no chance to spread it, and I kind of went too heavy in spots. So I did a solid coat of white, and now we're going in with this khaki and brown color, and we're going to dry brush over that. But you can do this however you want. You can paint it a bright color. You can leave it solid white. You could paint it black, whatever you want to do. While editing this video, I realized that I have paint on my sweatshirt. Isn't that fantastic? Yes. Okay. So we're going to distress this to our liking. You do you. What you like is obviously what makes sense because this is for your decor, or unless you're selling it. But anyways, now we are moving on to assemble this whole thing. We are going to put a good amount of hot glue in that little hole and put the dowel rod back in there and hot glue around it to make sure that this is not going anywhere. My hands will turn green during the remainder of this DIY because the styrofoam ball was still a little wet. But that's all right. We've got this greenery here. Use whatever you've got on hand. I was digging through my stash for these DIYs, and this is some vine, or it was a garland, I think, from Hobby Lobby that was kind of falling apart. Not as falling apart as I'm making it, but it was on clearance, and I have pulled it apart and used it on a ton of DIYs. But you can use whatever you've got. But this is why I painted the ball green, so that you wouldn't see white peeking through. I'm using a little wooden skewer to kind of poke the holes. Then I used some hot glue and really push the stems down in. And I just kept going with it and going with it until I liked the way it looked. It was a little bit time consuming, but it wasn't hard. So I don't know. I had fun with it. If you like seeing budget-friendly DIYs, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new, please consider subscribing before you leave because I don't want you to miss out on my future videos. And actually, to really make sure of that, if you're subscribed, please make sure your notification bell is turned on. You can adjust your notifications settings to determine how those notifications come through to you. But with that bell turned on, it really helps make sure that YouTube will let you know when I post again. Currently, I try to post a new DIY video every Tuesday, so if you don't see one pop up in your subscription feed, because YouTube does that sometimes, come back to my channel and check it out to see if I have posted one. All right, getting back onto the DIY, you are seeing what I'm doing here. I'm just going and going and going with it until I have the coverage of the greenery that I liked. You could also add some flowers in here if you want. Do whatever floats your boat. Search online for some inspiration, get some ideas, but this is how I am doing mine. Once we have the topiary finished, we wanted to go back to the stem or the trunk, and I am taking the stem from the garland. You could use the stem from like another flower pick, whatever you want to do here, and we're going to hot glue this around. Now, you really want to hold it down until the hot glue is set. And I'm just going to put some hot glue at the top and the bottom, wrapping it around as you see. You don't have to go all the way to the bottom because we're going to shove the bottom of this into some styrofoam as we put together our little planter. So just mostly to the bottom here. And like I said, make sure you hold that down until the hot glue is set so it doesn't come back off. And then I am going to trim off the little stems a little bit just because they were sticking out too much. But I did like that kind of thorny, viney look, so I am leaving them on here. That's kind of why I used it, just trimming them down a little bit. And then I decided I wanted to paint this brown. And first I did some dry brushing. I just am using the brown that I had pulled out for the pot because I still had some left over that I had poured out. But I ended up going in a little bit of a heavier coat, but you can still see some of the green through it. Just kind of go with what looks good to you because I think I already said it. It's your DIY. Now we're going to take some styrofoam and I'm going to hot glue most of it down in there, and then I just take some other smaller pieces and just kind of cram it in there and give ourselves a good base. I don't want this to tip over. Just taking my little scissors and kind of getting the hole started, although that might not be necessary. Putting a good amount of hot glue on this and putting that down in there. Once again, hold it for, just a few seconds, making sure that the hot glue is set before you move on. And then my intention was to use floral moss, and I looked all over and I can't find it. I don't think I used it up, but maybe I did. So I improvised. I may go back later when I find the moss or when I get more. But for now, I just cut up some raffia into little pieces, kind of like grass, putting in some hot glue and putting that down in there and kind of shaking it off and then doing another layer. But do whatever you want. Like I said, floral moss I think would be a little bit better, but we're going with what I got. And that was all I did for this one. I thought it was really cute. And yeah, I was pleased with this one. I thought it was very pretty and it's not too big and it could go on a tiered tray for sure, unless it's a super small one. Anyways, I loved it. For this next one, as you can see, I've already DIY'd this, but we're going to do the other side. But this is a wooden piece from the Dollar Tree. It was just plain wood. I had painted it white and then put some rub-on transfers on the other side. And I wanted to do the reverse side to match what I've got going on in my kitchen at the moment. And I will share that with you to kind of show you how I came, the theme feel I was going with here. Anyways, you can get these at the Dollar Tree. You can also just use like a little wooden cutting board from Hobby Lobby. They've got them on clearance now from Easter that you could just paint. Anyways, we went around with a little bit of black paint on the edges, and then we've got these rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. I have used many of these words. The remaining words are not ones that I'm probably going to use, so I am piecing them together, cutting out the letters and making new words. And I was actually really pleased with how it worked. I just tried to match together different words have different fonts. So I found letters with the same font and matched them together. These rub-on transfers go on super easy. As you can see, I'm just using my fingernail to rub them on. And I loved how this one came out. I won't show you like each and every word, but on this one, it was kind of like a, I don't know, more fancy font. And I was really excited that I made it look like it was always supposed to be this way. It looks like I pulled that word farm right out of the pack and attached it just like that. And so needless to say, I was pretty proud of myself. And then I have these stickers from the Dollar Tree that I knew I wanted to incorporate a cow. So I'm going to put that on so that I can figure out my placement of my remaining words. And then I wanted to add on a little bit of embellishment. So I don't know why I struggle with this. This is like the difficult way. Eventually I figure it out. But I'm using a blue and white twine. It came in a 3-pack from Dollar Tree, I think with an orange and white and a yellow and white. And the reason I went with blue and white, you're going to see in just a second why I chose to go that route. But I just wrapped it around and tied it in a knot. Now this does not coordinate with the other side at all, but I didn't use any hot glue. So all I got to do if I decide to flip it around is cut that off and it's back to the way it was. And as you can see, this is where I have it on my kitchen counter. It's a little dark in that corner, but I thought the blue and white coordinated really well. And it kind of has this whole cow milk theme going on. And so, yeah, I loved how that came out. So moving on to our next DIY, I've got some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree and some super glue. I was on the struggle bus today, and once again, it was not until I was editing this video that I realized that was not super glue gel. This whole time while I'm doing this, I was like, why is this so liquidy? Why is this making such a mess? Why am I gluing my fingers to things? Because I hate super glue. I don't intend to ever use it again. I need to throw those out. Super glue gel is better, but it worked. It does the job, but I did get my hands a mess. Anyways, I glued 2 sets of 3 and then glued them together. So you can see how that is. And then once it was all dried and set, we're just going to go in with some acrylic paint, white in color by the brand Apple Barrel, which is also by Plaid. I use all of Plaid's paint products. I bought them myself, but they've also sent me some. You can get that at Walmart, and Hobby Lobby, and on Amazon. It's really inexpensive, good paint. There's a lot of different brands that are included in the Plaid line, including Waverly chalk paint. Okay, I wasn't planning on mentioning all that, but I did because it's great. Now I'm taking out my calendar, and we're going to use the back of the calendar where you have all of these little squares. It's like bonus pictures. So I think it's fantastic to use these. So this is going to be a perfect little tier tray, little filler sign, and I just picked out 2. That's right, this is going to be a double-sided sign. I picked out 2 of them, 2 of the images that I liked that were both still kind of like spring and summery, but you could also do 2 different seasons if you wanted. You could use a scrap piece of wood. I tend to stumble over my words because I talk fast, and so I'm going to try to slow it down. And I'm going to Mod Podge these on, 1 to each side. Make sure that if this sign can be seen from both sides where you're displaying it, that you have those pictures facing in the same direction so that one of them isn't sideways or upside down. You do want to use a good amount of Mod Podge, but I didn't have to use too. I wasn't too worried about it getting wrinkled because the back of the calendar is definitely a thicker paper than like the other calendar pages. And then as it was drying, I'm just kind of creasing the edges. These squares are just a little bit bigger than the blocks, but not much. So once it's fully dry, I'm going to go along those creased edges with a sanding block. And if you've never seen, I've shared this before, but if you've never seen it, you've never done it, just don't pull up on the paper, go away from it, and it just gives you a nice crisp edge there. So I did that to just clean up the edges. And then I did sand a little extra just to kind of, rough it up and age it just a little bit. And that's all I did. This made a really cute double-sided sign, perfect for a tiered tray. And guys, that's it for today's video. Once again, if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing before you leave. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys.